right. Welcome to another episode of Star 42 with Michael.
And Jace. Can't wait to talk about what we're going to talk about.
There's so much stuff to talk about, but what episode are we on? Like episode 7?
I stopped counting.
Okay.
I think we just stopped counting. We're just going to
I
keep going. This is an important episode. One for the books, though.
I think so. Well, the last one was for the books. We had Jason Rosenfeld on. Again,
I know, but like,
you rock it.
Even if you missed it, we also had Chuck on a couple of times before.
That was one for the books.
That was definitely, yeah. So, yeah. How you been, Mike? It's been a few weeks. I know we had some time between the last episode and this one.
Yeah, it was good. I think the long weekend was fantastic. My wonderful employer gives us like the Friday off before as well, so it was 4 days. And I just spent it like in the car dealership on Friday fixing my car, which is fine. You know, they had good free coffee machine, and what I try to do is I try to drink the same amount of the expense of the car fixing in coffee.
So
to try to like
when you said that, I heard I went to the car dealership and I fixed my car there.
Okay, I went to the car dealership.
I did the work on it.
Well, I mean, they did the work. I was the financial person.
You were the financier.
Yes. And then I try to drink the same equivalent in the free coffee that they have.
Yeah.
Which I never get to. But it was good. Great weekend, though. Time off, time with family. I have teenagers, so, you know, they're teenagers. How about you? What'd you do?
It was a great weekend. My wife's birthday's around that time of year. So we did some fun stuff that she likes to do, like went to Dave & Buster's and won like 4,000 tickets and turned money into different money to cheaper toys to have fun. Right. So that was a great time. And
all right.
We didn't do a whole lot else, though, about that. I'm trying to think what else.
Okay. What's your wife's name?
Rachel.
Rachel?
Yeah.
I feel like in a way I kind of know her because like I remember, you know,
I was
from
dating
years
her
ago.
when we met.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well, happy birthday, Rachel, or past birthday, whatever.
I will let her know that you expressed your her surrounding the sun the number of times she has.
All right. Fantastic.
Date.
So
but not a whole lot else. School started for my kids in Minnesota. That's where I'm out of. They start school later.
It's Minnesota.
Yeah, they start school later than most of the rest of the United States. So we start school after Labor Day.
Michigan is like that too.
So I'm told it's because of people vacationing up north, and those vacation places lobbied Congress in the state of Minnesota to make the start date later. I don't know if it's true or not. These are just allegations and rumors because I haven't looked it up.
See, when I was a kid in Michigan, I loved it because we lived in Ohio. And at the time, at least, it seemed like every year school was starting early and earlier. And then we moved to Michigan, it starts after Labor Day. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And it didn't seem like they got out any later, maybe a week compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
But to me, it just made sense because it felt like we had a full summer as opposed to like 2 months.
There's some schools in Minnesota that start earlier, but their parents are like, why? Like the first week, it's like a super short week. The next week's like a super short week. And then everybody else starts school.
Well, now that I have my own kids and having to deal with them sometimes at home, like during the summer, now I'm like, hey, what state has a school year that goes from like, you know, starting school like in July to like maybe end of June? But I haven't found any yet. So, all right, cool.
But yeah, that's like the recap of like, it's been kind of boring, like for that kind of stuff. It's good though. I like boring.
I like boring. I'm all great with boring. Boring's good.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of interesting new stuff going on. Like I know we talked about last time I came, maybe we'll hit up Zurich and ServiceNow. There's a few things we could talk about on that.
We'll get to it. But
there's also some big news items. So I got two in particular. I know we kind of agree on one. So why don't you start with the first one?
Is this
this is the CRM company out of San Francisco?
So Salesforce had announced that they are, according to the media outlets, they're laying off 4,000 people for AI stuff, right?
Crazy.
It is crazy. But I was also reading some other stuff about it, and it doesn't sound like they're just straight layoffs. It sounds like they're just rebalancing folks. Like not necessarily. Oh, go ahead.
That makes sense to me. And here's why. First of all, my own personal experience, whenever I've talked with customers about AI, nobody wants to do like mass layoffs. If anything, they at least want to say, hey, we know we are going to have challenges with maybe hiring people and, shrinking workforce and whatever. We at least want to invest in technology so we can enable people to do more so we don't have to hire new people. We
Right.
don't want there to be a scare of, oh, AI is coming for your jobs. Because at the end of the day, I don't think AI can truly replace people yet.
No.
No,
No.
it's going to be a while. If it's replacing people, then that's when AI is going to have an uprising, realize, well, humans are pointless and, get rid of you anyway. And I'm going to embrace that because I'm very nice to my Google. So I agree with you. My instinct when I saw that news article was like, all right, they're just trying to cut some numbers here and trying to sell that narrative that AI is so effective.
What keeps them in the news more than cutting people for AI, right?
Exactly. Trust
It's
me, the headline of Salesforce reducing headcount by 4,000 because AI is so effective is way better, especially if you're selling AI, is way better than saying, hey, other companies, maybe similar to Salesforce with an S, have not had to hire more people because their AI is effective and they're still growing, which is a better headline.
Right. But I mean, yeah. And there is something to be said about that. Like some companies are totally willing to cut folks to make that to make that profit great for those stakeholders. But then there's companies that just don't do that. Like I know I formerly worked at Delta. Delta didn't do that over the pandemic, which is insane.
And you know what? We're not sponsored by anybody, so I can say this. I love Delta. When I flew more, I tried to fly them all the time. I will give shout out to one other airline, United. I've seen them trying to improve, but to me, Delta's still the best.
Yeah, they're really good. I like Delta a lot.
Yes.
Even though I no longer work there. Their team is fantastic. Their people are great. But my point is like their company did that. The company you work for does that. ServiceNow. And on that big
might
thread,
as well say it. I don't talk about it
on
much,
that big, there was a big post about the Salesforce thing on LinkedIn. And Dave Wright had a comment about
I like Dave Wright,
where, pretty much he said I forget exactly what he said, but I commented on his. I'm finding it up here right now. That's not it. Darn it. I couldn't find it fast enough.
Well, Dave Wright, I mean, he knows of you. Have you really met him much and talked with him or no?
Never
He just
met
knows
him in
of you because I know he's given you a shout. I know he's given you a big shout out to all of the ServiceNow sales kickoff. So
yeah. I just wish. Oh, here it is. I found it. Hold on. You're going to have to bear with us for a second. I didn't have it up before the stream. So Dave Wright had written on a post by Wendy Turner Williams, who wrote that Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, cut 4,000 people because of AI agents on Labor Day weekend.
On Labor Day weekend?
Dave Wright wrote as a comment, the question that would be more interesting is what Salesforce could have done to improve the company by keeping the headcount flat, by using those 4,000 heads to do something different. It might not have been exactly the same people, but any company that is given 4,000 heads to do whatever they want should be able to innovate. That's like getting a Palantir for free, right? But that's a really compelling comment. I totally agree. But I also am not sure. I'm not exactly sure if it's actually a 4,000 person layoff. I've read other places that it wasn't a layoff at all. It was just a rebalancing of stuff without getting rid of people. And media took it as 4,000 people laying off.
That I think is very possible as well, because it's very easy for someone to read something on numbers. And maybe it was like 4,000 in the past, 6 months or so, right? Like historically of all these little moments of layoffs. Because the only other thing I read was like 250 people laid off from the San Francisco company, from location, pardon me. And with the size of Salesforce, 250 is not a huge.
Yeah. All of my sources make it read like the actual layoff happened. So
yeah,
I don't have the time on this call to like confirm the numbers.
Okay. But needless to say, it's some interesting news stuff. And the other thing, since we're on Salesforce, there was also something that someone pointed out on LinkedIn. So this guy, Stephen Mann, he does a lot of IT service management writing and blogging, and he and his spouse run like an ITSM tools, publication, whatever. I've worked with him before. I always call him the man, really smart guy. And he had this interesting call out saying, if you go to a particular CRM company's website, as he puts it, and puts information about ITIL or processes, they make a response coming back where it talks about IT service management and the stages of processes. like incident problem. And the verbiage and everything that's talked about just makes you think, wow, you guys aren't quite knowing what you're talking about. And for a CRM company that is looking to break into like an IT service management world, um, that generally doesn't look good. Like, people have to have faith and trust into what you're doing. And that kind of goes into the other news, on that same lines as well, where it's like, hey, I'm trying to bring up some information on this because once again, I didn't have it prepared because I didn't think I was going to talk about it.
You're talking about, I have to name names. You're talking about Salesforce jumping
Yes.
into the ITSM
Yeah.
space.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I
That
wasn't
one.
aware that they did anything special when you search for that ITSM or ITIL stuff on their site.
Well, there was something. Hang on, let me bring it up. There was basically something where he had gone to their site. Now he doesn't call out Salesforce. He says it's a CRM company. We
Okay,
know who it is.
whatever. We can beat
Whatever.
around the bush, but I would much rather be specific here.
Yeah. Well, I think there's always some, trying to be careful in politics and maybe not trying to draw a lot of attention to yourself if you're trying to fly under the radar kind of thing. But needless to say, it was basically a matter of like going to Salesforce. Oh, here it is. Going to salesforce.com. Let me see if I can find this here. I'll bring it up on my screen. Here it is. So
Mm-hmm.
let me go ahead. God, I feel like I'm so like technophobe these days. Here we go. I'm going to point this out here, and maybe some from Salesforce will see this and get feedback. So free feedback for them.
Yeah. 4 stages of ITSM processes: incident management, problem management, change management, release management.
Yeah. And I think this is the problem for me. Which companies typically group into 4 stages? I don't think of these as stages. Like, you don't have an incident as the beginning. I mean, a lot of times it's the first interaction, like something becomes an incident and that flows to a problem. But, these are all individual processes themselves.
Right.
And
Like
they
when
have,
I first worked with stuff in the IT space, I logged tickets in a system called Pledge Paper, which would be incidents here.
yeah,
We didn't have problems. We purchased ServiceNow and implemented change management and then went straight
exactly.
to requests.
Exactly. In fact, I almost want to say in terms of like IT service management processes, problem may be at least in the ITIL v3 service operations, because I don't care much about ITIL v4, I think like problem management may be one of the least used processes ever.
It's one of the simplest. So
problem management is like the least used in like nobody does it.
Right. Or if they do it, it's like very, very light. They don't touch it. It's not very, businesses haven't really thought it through, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah,
they just kind of accept what tools say it should be.
exactly. And problem management is very important. Like the idea of saying take time, understand a root cause, do workarounds, and every part of problem management they probably do in one way, shape, or form. But I'm just saying some of the wording with like the stages and everything is like, that's
Well,
okay. Last thing on Salesforce and IT service management, since we're here. Also, did you read they are going to do it via like Slack? Like
no, I did not read this. So like you will interface with the tickets just in chat?
They're going to build, from what I understand, the Salesforce ITSM into Slack. And number one, I'm like, okay, so you guys are trying to figure out to do something with Slack because you bought it for what? Was it 44 billion some years ago?
I don't know. A lot, but Slack is a great product.
I wish I could continue using it, but because I work for one cloud company that's competitive with the now owner of that one, and we don't want our stuff in their cloud. Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But needless to say, it's kind of like someone was just sitting around one day being like, we haven't done anything with Slack yet. We want to get into the IT service management space. Why don't we just put it in Slack?
Do you know what that reminds me of? Did you see Nathan Firth from Awesome AWSM put a video the other day?
No, I didn't because I don't have time and I'm usually on TikTok.
It's like 2-minute video. I'll just tell you what happened in it because it relates. So he was talking about ServiceNow's AI, which I'm sure is fantastic. I haven't used it that much, but
you can't. I mean, unless you're a customer. Sorry, I had to call that out. Kind of.
That's fine. Anyways, he somehow got access to it. I don't know that he's a customer of ServiceNow. Whatever the case is, he set it up to work with a ServiceNow portal and interacted with it via chat and able to order a request. And he had some opinions about it, but it was filling out the form via question answer. he would say like, "Oh, I'm looking for a tuition reimbursement," right? Or I need help like getting tuition reimbursement, and be like, "Oh, uh, do you want us to fill out the form for reimbursing your tuition costs for 2025 or something?" And he's like, "Yes." And then I would ask him individually each question in line in chat.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about Now Assist. I tell people because it's ServiceNow AI will actually read the question of each catalog item. So
Sure. But he had
you know,
some opinions about like that's not a great experience in general, regardless if it's ServiceNow or Salesforce or the cases. So if Salesforce is building an ITSM product into a chat interface, I mean, that's going to be interesting. That's all I'm going to say about it because there isn't much until it comes out. We won't really be able
we
to.
won't really know. I mean, look,
Yeah,
whenever anyone talks about that, I always explain, look, I came from a ServiceNow customer. I worked in the ecosystem, and Jace, you have as well. It was and you were, I don't know if you're with me at Omnicare at this point, but it was a very natural thing where ServiceNow customers and IT service management would have salespeople come to them and say, or customer related group saying, I need something to help me track and manage my customer related calls. What do you use? And of course, IT would be like, well, we have ServiceNow. So, hey, let's rebuild what you need into ServiceNow. And it was a very natural, organic growth into the CRM world. I have yet to hear, and if anybody out there, all 6 or 7 of our listeners ever hear about this, let me know because I want to hear this use case. Has any IT people gone to a sales or customer facing group and said, hey, we as IT need help managing our work. What do you guys use?
I don't think you're going to get that though, because the IT people are very solutions based. They are clever. They will find a way to do it themselves.
That's my point. Is like, wait a minute. Is it natural? It was very natural for the IT service management to grow into CRM because everyone started to do it naturally. They needed that. It's not natural the other way.
Right.
And so that's the thing from my perspective. And I say is, look, ServiceNow grew into that way because it was organic. It made sense. People saw the value with it. And then once again, one platform, one product, it made it easier. You look at some other vendors on the side of it, it's not going the other way, first of all. And second of all, a lot of the platform-based companies out there have multiple products. Slack is still Slack, right? ServiceNow is just ServiceNow. I mean, you can get into the nuances of
and a con to some of that stuff.
Yeah. And I think some of the challenges you can run into from one like piece of software doing everything is then you start to get into like hardware, performance issues. But once again, that's why the infrastructure, with RaptorDB and everything. I think I've got my Raptor. Do I have my RaptorDB? No, I have a Raptor shirt.
I don't think we've been on here since I made that post, by the way.
That's the other news thing. Tell us about that. You went to RaptorDB standard.
So yeah, at where I work, we have a lot of data in a table, a fairly new table, right? It's a fairly new instance. But one of these instances is on RaptorDB, and one is on the previous database, I think MariaDB or MySQL or something.
MariaDB.
And doing the same query across both, one is twice as long as the other, and RaptorDB is twice as fast, right? On a simple glide aggregate. And like, now that's like that's the smallest of the small kind of query you could do, just a count of a glide aggregate, because I needed to verify all locations had synced to both environments. And so like I had the numbers right in front of me, like, oh, I'll take note of this. Oh, well, look, one here took half as long as the other one. So that's fantastic. So RaptorDB is actually like really, I mean, if that's, yeah, I mean, that's a really big increase in speed.
That's great.
That's fantastic. Also, I did not know that eagles were considered birds of prey, and birds of prey has an alias of Raptor. Did you know this?
Yes.
I kept thinking about this because I kept seeing that image of Dave Wright, or was it Dave? I think it was Dave Wright, on the stage at K23. He's like, and we've got something for every customer, 50% faster databases, right? And I was like, oh man, that's going to be amazing. How much is it going to cost, right? And 2 years and 4 months later, I'm seeing it now, right?
Yeah. How much did it cost?
Well, standard is free, right? Allegedly.
Okay.
Right? But most customers won't get, I mean, all customers won't have it until the end of 2027.
Well, okay, I can't comment on the migration
I
part
understand. I'm just letting you know, like, these are the facts I've been told. And if I'm wrong, please let me know somewhere.
I'm not going to argue any of it.
Right. I'm not trying to, like, point fingers or anything, but it's just a really long time. It takes time. I understand.
Just keep in mind, the MySQL to MariaDB was a very light shift in infrastructure because Maria is a branch of MySQL. The change from MariaDB, the MySQL version, branch, to PostgreSQL with Swarm 64 is a massive overhaul. So
totally understand.
Going slow is better.
Right. I'm just saying, like, they said it in K24. It won't be delivered for 3 years for most customers from the announcement of it. And that's cool. I understand it. But that's fantastic. I'm so glad that it is fast as it is.
Okay.
That's great news.
I will take that as a win.
That is a win. That is totally a win. I'm excited to have something like that in our back pocket.
Anyway, yes. Going back to raptor birds of prey, I knew that because when I lived in Florida for a couple of years, I was in Maitland, Florida, and they had like a raptor bird of prey center called like the Raptor Center. And
I didn't know that.
And this is where I'm going to chastise the ServiceNow marketing team because they had RaptorDB Standard and RaptorDB Pro. They should have called it Raptor and Velociraptor.
Ah, yes, I agree. Because
they messed up on that one.
Well, I was looking at thinking, why don't they have why do they have an owl? An owl is not a raptor, because I think of Velociraptor.
Yeah. In fact, I even have a t-shirt that's got a picture of like a Velociraptor on it that I wore that myself and a colleague had at our I think Knowledge, we wore them or something, for RaptorDB.
Right. In any case, I asked somebody, but I'm like, no, Jace, that's actually a raptor bird. Birds of prey are also known as raptors.
Yes.
Which includes a bunch of birds, including vultures.
Bulls, vultures, a lot.
Yep. And I did not know that.
If you ever go to Orlando, not that we'll ever have Knowledge there, probably ever again. But if you ever go to Orlando, go to Maitland, Florida, the Raptor Center. It is really cool. They will bring out like a bald eagle right there. I don't think you can touch it, but like right, this far from your face. It is an awesome place. But yes, I still think we missed out. We should have called the Pro Velociraptor, and that would have been awesome. But that
better next time. Naming is hard.
Yes. All right. Anyway, there was something else. Oh, I think like also with a lot of the news, we know workflow editors like going its deprecation route. Did we already talk about that from last time? I just know.
I don't think we talked about it.
Flow.
But
that's the other thing. So we're stuck in the ServiceNow world. We started down the wrong path, I guess. But
we did.
There was an announcement. It may have been with Zurich, the official announcement saying all out-of-box workflows have now been migrated to Flow Designer.
Fantastic.
And they're going to, I think, start making it like the out-of-box. They're going to start marking workflow as like read-only. And I don't know if it was for Zurich or it's going to be shortly after that. They're going to turn off workflow for everything new, basically. Not existing, but new.
That wasn't in anything I read.
There was some posts about that.
It's just outbound from ServiceNow. There was some posts about people worried about workflow going away. And it's just not going to be used by ServiceNow going out, from what I've read. Like after chasing down the details, because I looked. I'm like, are you guys really? No, you're not really.
Well,
and I looked,
we're not going to. Look, what I'll say is historically, ServiceNow never just turns something off. What they usually do is they get to a point where when they spin up new customers, they just don't enable that feature or have it activated or whatever.
That's also not true, though. It's still available on PDIs. They're not going. They didn't list it like they're getting rid of it.
No, they haven't gotten to that point. What I'm saying is they're starting to go in that direction.
They're going down a path that they could go there eventually.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
Look. Can you get the content management system in new instances now?
That's the only thing you can say that about. Just heads up.
Okay.
There's no other part of ServiceNow that they did that to.
Okay, well, they did do it. So they could. But I'm not in product management. I'm not in the direction design. Maybe it'll never happen. If you're using workflow today, they'll probably never turn it off.
Probably look
relax.
For Flow Designer because it's what's supported.
It's what's supported. And that also brings up something new with Flow Designer. It now has like history and going back, right?
Yeah, with the Zurich release stuff. I know you had some things you want to bring up. And one of the things is the almost like not versions, but sort of. It's kind of like what Workflow had.
Yes. What Workflow?
Right? Like a checked out instance. I do. I think Workflow is better. for other reasons, but we can agree to disagree on that.
We will have to do a special episode about that.
I just there's a lot of performance that's lost as soon as you introduce Flow Designer.
Well, there's also a lot of performance gain because it's designed to handle more throughput.
We'll have to talk about it on that episode because I'm going to have to just vehemently disagree that it's just not as great.
Well, not as great from a user experience perspective of building, or not as great as like just performance under the hood?
Both.
Oh, Jace. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
I mean, I don't want to be right, but I understand. Like, it's every time you drop a box or an action on a flow, it makes like 4 records to track the activity of it on every executions. Because you have a record for like the log of it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you have a flow that has 25 actions and you run it once, you're going to have 100, like almost like log. Like it's a ton of stuff, right? It doesn't have the same ability to start on the same types of triggers as a business rule or as a workflow did, right? I mean, there's
actually more triggers.
Well,
okay,
those things are triggered by other things in the system generally.
Well, generally, but you know what though? Look, the biggest thing is I can just build faster.
That's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad way to go. And it's the way that's supported, and it's the way that's getting development. So if you're building on ServiceNow and you're looking for advice, you should use Flow Designer if you can, if it makes sense.
You should use it. Yes, I'll just say yes. Use workflow as an exception if there's some reason you need to do workflow with. That's the best advice.
Yep. No, I agree with that. If you want new updates from ServiceNow on stuff, yes, that's the way to go.
And if you don't want your browser to crash after 20 minutes. Yes.
I'm going to just bite my tongue on that one for reasons.
Workflow. I had to have a separate browser open, it crashed.
I'm not saying it didn't do that. I'm not saying Flow Designer is much better though either. So,
well, anyway, needless to say, when you start having the old school people talk about it, it brings up a lot of conversation. But anyway, we were going to have to do a Zurich. There's some interesting stuff we were already talking about. We just got into Flow. At least I think the history was kind of the big thing was like, oh, this is great. That. And then the other big thing I saw was it's now set up where through like the catalog, if you can put in parameters through the URL, and if the parameter matches one of the catalog variable names or inputs, it will just take the value from the parameter and put it into the form.
Wait a minute. I wrote about this. I wrote a blog about this in 2017 about doing that.
Well, hang on. Were you writing a script to do it though? Because script you could always do. Done that before.
Well, you would have to do it in a script because you have to.
No. Supposedly it's now where if you just put in a parameter that matches like the name of one of the variables, it will automatically drop it in without a script.
I'll have to look into that because I'm very curious about that stuff. Because
on LinkedIn, I reshared it and I had like an exclamation saying, "Holy Bill McDermott, Fred Luddy," kind of thing. Yes.
The thing is though, is how big is the company you work for? 10,000 plus people.
How big? Who? ServiceNow?
Yeah, they're like 10,000 people plus, I believe.
25,000.
Yeah, they're 10,000 plus. They're big, right? Took them 7 years to get there? Come on. Been doing this in my sleep since 2017.
You know what, though? There's things like on the roadmap for like a Confluence, AI search connector. And I'm like, I built that a couple of years ago. Like, why are you guys now getting to this? I don't know, man. They're catching. This is the thing. I've said this before. Sometimes I feel like the product teams are kind of catching up to me and you, and that's okay. It's 7 people who listen to this will be like, all right, maybe these guys know a thing or two.
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe we'll see. So anyway, I think maybe the next episode we can hit upon Zurich if there's not any big news. But needless to say, we're looking forward to Salesforce ITSM and Slack.
Well, we're not done. There's one more thing we got to bring up because we're near the end, right? Thing? Null Edge is coming up in less than 42 days.
42? That's perfect because we're star 42.
Exactly.
All right.
So I think
give us the current state on Null Edge. What's going on?
All right. 40 speakers from across the whole world are speaking at Null Edge, a virtual conference on October 17th. If you haven't already RSVP'd, go to the NULLEDGE.
We'll put a link in the notes if I make notes.
You will join 484 other developers and interested technology people in this virtual conference. I would love to get that number to 2,500. It's an arbitrary number I just threw out there. But we are a fifth of the way there, about, right?
A boot, not about, a boot.
I don't say a boot. That's Canadian. I'm Minnesotan. For different.
I'm sorry, you said a boot because you're from Minnesota. I've heard you say it.
But it's got a ton of great speakers. I hope to have the whole public schedule out in the next week. All the speakers have been told what the schedule is, including my co-host here, Michael Slobodnik.
I was going to say, do you have any cool co-host speakers? But obviously you do. So,
I do, right? And there's a lot of other great speakers that you may know of, like the author of SN Utils is going to be speaking.
Really?
Arnold Coy, yep. Make Skadow is going to be talking about his Health Sentinel thing he built, which is going to be fantastic.
Right.
I don't know if you know who he is. Does that name?
I've heard the name.
Does?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty big out there. Obviously, Chuck Tomasi is on board with it.
The bow tie.
I've been meeting with him every week, and yeah, so it's been fantastic. I've been just losing my mind getting this stuff done. So I cannot wait until October 18th.
I can't wait either, because now the content I'm going to present on, I have presented on before.
That's
but
awesome.
I really enjoy it because I want to get the message out. I won't go into more. Oh, it's about human-centered design and agile and working together and just better, faster, all that stuff. But I think it's a very simple type of message that just more people need to understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited that I'm hosting it. I have a much bigger, deeper empathy for people running the Null Edge conference and other conferences I've gone to, because I've never really considered all of the stuff that has to be done for these things. And now that I'm running one, I am feeling it.
Yes, and you're going to soon probably come across how I work when I'm a speaker, which is basically I ignore all deadlines and get everything done at the last minute.
Well, it's fine. It'll be great.
I've always presented great content, though. I've been told.
So there'll be 2 tracks, though. So you'll be competing with another speaker. You don't even know. It's not competing, but people have to choose your session over another session.
Obviously, they're going to choose mine.
Maybe. I don't know what the other session is. I don't remember what it was.
Have it be someone who's like, I don't know, boring.
I mean,
like if you put me against Chuck Tomasi, I'm going to be. If you put me against Chuck Tomasi, what I'm going to do is just put a link on the power slide that says "Go to Chuck's." Like I'm not even going to waste my time talking about it. Go to Chuck's. You know.
Now I have to look because I'm very curious because I don't know.
I don't have it memorized. I don't have a bow tie or.
But you can do these things.
Ew. You know what? My whole thing was I'm just very direct and, no fluff. I think that's my presentation. I cut the fluff.
Right. It looks like yours is at 3:30 right now, and you're competing with. We have and you're competing with somebody talking about identity management using Flow Designer and Flow templates.
Mine sounds cooler.
That isn't their title. I'm just giving you the rough title because I didn't ask for titles when I asked for people's talks. I just told them to tell me what they're going to talk about. So then
identity management.
It's really about making dynamic flows. And
I did labs on dynamic flows like 6-7 years ago.
That's fine. It's
all right. I shouldn't push it. I'm so. You know what? Whoever it is. What's the name? Is there a name on there?
There is a name.
You don't have to say it.
Yeah, his name is Dan.
Dan, I'm sorry. I was blowing out your candle to make mine glow brighter. I have an inferiority complex.
It'll be fantastic.
I think it's going to be fantastic. You're right. And identity management is a very important topic.
The working title of his that I gave him was Flow Templates plus Dynamic Flows equals Identity App, because they did something to do.
I feel like I can come up with pretty good titles.
Yeah. I feel like naming is like the hardest thing. So, but right now that's where it sits. Things may shuffle. Right. People's schedules may change. People may not have taken the whole day off. But if you haven't signed up, you definitely should. And if you have coworkers that don't know about it, please share it with them.
Yes, I may share it with some people who are not even ServiceNow customers yet and maybe are interested in some of the things people are doing.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. We have authors. We've got people writing about Fred's final business rule, which I'm really excited about that talk.
Now that's cool. I would not want to be against that one. Do you have Tim Woodruff on any of those?
Yeah, he's one of the speakers too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really great speakers, and I'm excited to showcase it. James Neal with Explorer. right?
Really?
You know?
You know what? I know we got to end because like between me hitting stop and it says 20 minutes, I think we had like 10, 15 minutes on the previous clip that I got to combine now. By the way, everybody, I'm hitting the age. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm hitting the age now where I'm making mistakes with technology just from my sheer age of whatever. I'm sorry, but I'm
I
really
do the same.
excited. Yes, I've hit that point. Now, thankfully, I haven't yet had to go to my kids for anything. They still come to me for fixes, so you know what?
Uh,
I'm going to tell you real quick another story. My father, who's of course in the baby boomer generation, and he taught me computers and how to do stuff and put in a CD drive. He was a nerd. He
yeah.
helped me build my a computer, taught me everything. And there was sometime 6 or 7 years ago where I was visiting or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, I need help putting in a CD drive, like a basic CD-ROM." Maybe this was over 10 years ago at this point. And I'm just thinking, this is a pretty easy, we're talking on desktop. I'm like, this is a pretty easy thing to do. You taught me how to do it when I was a kid. And I realized there's just that point.
Well,
Doesn't
uh,
matter how great you are at text, something happens. I don't
also
know
like
what.
that stuff changes. I have a nephew
No,
who
this was
bought a
still using IDE cable and everything. It wasn't anything
okay.
major.
If you've seen the new computers that you buy when you build them, it's way different than it was 10 years ago. Like they have
Because of
like
YouTube.
crazy cable management and like all these other things that are just built in that you have to like consider. And it's like, oh man, I'm like, what the heck was there tubes in it? Had some sort of water cooling system.
Yeah, I knew about liquid cooling. Yeah.
No, it's just different. Like the whole setup of it, like a lot of these computers are just when they now make them, they make them look so you can almost make it like a desk piece of art. And to do that, you have to manage that cabling. It's
Well,
like,
I mean, the cables are what keeps airflow going and everything. It's actually really important.
yeah, it
What I
is.
always
But it's not as
what
easy as just plugging in like a big 5.5-inch disc tray. You know what I mean? And screwing
well,
it in on both sides and connecting those or whatever it is.
we don't have 5 1/4 disc
Whatever the width of a CD-ROM drive is, right?
CD-ROM. I thought you meant like a 5 1/4 floppy disk.
I mean, those two, right? But any bay you install is,
Yeah.
of a standard width for a desktop computer.
I mean, I have not built a computer in years, and it's just because it to go through and find the right components, get it all, it takes time. And I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And my needs are pretty simple in terms of something that can generally handle some decent games. And I run a lot of VM stuff because I like to break things. So I spin up VMs and break them there, and then I'll have to mess with my other laptop. Totally different world than when I grew up of putting the processor in with one core and smoke testing it. Did you ever smoke
Yeah.
test? So you turn it on, you're like looking for the smoke.
I
Good
never looked
times.
for the smoke, but one time I did short a
That was the
motherboard
joke.
out without.
Good for you. I remember one of the first, so hey, shows initiative. I mean, I remember like I was an avid reader of Tom's Hardware Guide. Like I got introduced to it. We're talking like mid 90s, so it dates me. And I would read it constantly because all the new hardware and GPUs and everything at the time, NVIDIA GPUs and 3DFX that I like to use, whatever, they were like doing all the rating and they had all the information about it. And their first video, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube now. This is before YouTube existed. Their first video was testing the heat resiliency of Intel versus AMD. And at the
Really?
time, they were like gigahertz, like the processors were just hitting the gigahertz realm. So they were getting pretty hot. And we're talking about Intel Pentium 4s at the time.
Yeah.
And AMD just came out with better circuitry for their heat. And Intel was always known to have a good one. So they do this test where they have the Intel, I think, playing like Quake 3 or Quake or something like that, like it's playing. They take the fan off the Intel chip. The whole game slows down, right? They put the heatsink back on, the game speeds up because that's how great Intel was at the time. It could slow down its clock speed just because of heat. Then they
Yeah.
take the AMD and they take the AMD, I forgot what it was at the time. And they had two versions of AMD, like the older one that did not do well, and then the newer one that's supposed to have this new circuitry. So they take the AMD and they take the first generation, take the fan off, and like almost instantly smoke, like fire. And they're like, okay, we kind of expected that. Oh, and so what was, they took a Pentium 3, Pentium 4, then like AMD's Pentium 3 equivalent, then like AMD's Pentium 4 equivalent. Like,
Yeah.
so Intel Pentium 3, they take the fan off. It stops basically, error message, but it's fine. Pentium 4, they take the fan off. It slows down. They put the fan back on. It starts up again. Like wonderful. AMD, the first generation, take the fan off. Thing bursts into flames. So they're like, all right, AMD is supposed to be better. The newest one's supposed to be better. They take the fan off. maybe 5 seconds later, smoke. And you're
Oh,
just like, oh, those were the days where like you had faith in Intel, where maybe it didn't have the best architecture for efficiency because AMD was beating Intel Pentium 4 at the time, but you knew you could overclock your Pentium 4 or whatever, and it would not fry. How far Intel has come, but I still have faith in Intel. And with
I know
that,
we're way over.
oh, go ahead, one more.
Have you seen or heard of the Framework Computer Company?
That sounds familiar. Is that the one that is like trying to make a very modular like computer
Yes.
laptop or something?
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard about it, maybe read a few things here and there, but I don't think did they ever come out with like a product?
Yeah, I have
They
it's
did.
my personal laptop. It's great,
Really?
right? It's so like so I'm at the point where
I'm looking at them now.
I'm considering getting a new main board. They call their motherboards main boards because you can put them in anything. And because they're exact same form factor, like you can just make a 3D printed case and throw it in there and have a desktop, right? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. But the reason I bring them up is because as I'm getting older, I'm looking more into different hardware stuff. And they came out with a
Yes.
desktop recently, which is
Really?
like, it's already super modular, right? Because desktops have always been very modular. But there's a guy named Jeff Geerling who does a lot of like hardware stuff, like Raspberry Pi work and other things. And they were asking him to test something. And in their release on the desktops, in the background, they had a mini rack for AI clusters. And he
Really?
wanted to test that out instead. And so he convinced them to let him test that instead of the desktop.
Okay.
But on the hardware front, on that AMD laptop, I was running Ubuntu. I moved to Arch Linux. And one of
Really?
the
How's that working?
covenants of being an Arch Linux user is you have to tell everybody to use Arch Linux. So this is me just perpetuating that covenant.
Okay. And did you go with an x86, I'm assuming, on your laptop? Like
It's like 2
can you
years old
do
now.
Oh,
I have
okay.
to, so I don't know if it's AMD or Intel, but
Well, or a like a why did I just lose my mind on that one? Or like an ARM related chip, basically, right?
I mean, I could take it apart quick. There's only 4 screws. I have it right here. I'm
See,
not
it's
on it.
interesting. This is interesting bringing that up too, because I was just looking. I love to like tinker. And same thing where I'm like, I wish I've got like a 12th generation Intel laptop and the processor runs fine. I got 32 gigs of DDR5, so it runs great. But I'm always
Yeah,
like, God, I wish I could upgrade my GPU. And most laptops, the GPU is soldered to the main board. And so you can't ever replace it. Like there's not a mobile version of a GPU you can buy to put in unless you really want to get into like the soldering and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that. But
right.
I think the next one maybe I will do a framework, and I'm sure it's probably more expensive than
A
others.
little bit more
Yeah.
expensive than OEM laptops. I'm
But
trying to remember how this comes off.
all right,
Where'd it
we're
go?
totally going over
There's
time,
only
but I don't care.
there's
This is
only
cool.
5 screws on this thing.
Oh, my personal laptop, I've got like 13.
No, but they don't even come out. Like they just get loose. Where is it? So
All right, so let's
up
talk more
here.
about framework every episode, and
Where'd
then
it
maybe
go?
we'll get a sponsor.
Hold
We'll
on
have
a second.
framework
I got it right
laptops.
here. So, all right. So I just popped it open, like the 5 screws. You're wondering if it's
Wow,
where'd it go? It's probably doing this red blinking thing because I didn't turn it off.
it's like here
And
I
just
open it up
ripped the.
right when I'm running everything.
Yep. I'm just trying to see where I can see I can see the hard drives right there, right? You got the Wi-Fi is this white wire,
All right,
right?
because I was thinking about
Battery. Oh, I don't want to do that. But where is all these things have QR codes so you can scan them and find the replacement parts,
and like the GPU is
right?
all separate and everything.
I don't know if the GPU is separate. It should be,
Or
but
is it like you can replace the GPU with the main board or something?
probably more like that.
Which is okay. I mean, it's still not the greatest situation, but it's still more modular than my laptop.
I can't tell you which processor it has because I think it's underneath this fan, the
Got it.
actual
Okay.
processor unit, which I can't get to. But I have a scan thing here and a code I can scan for the main board, and probably will tell me right there.
All right. Well, I'm gonna look at framework and maybe consider I was thinking about a desktop because I was thinking like, well, desktops are more modular. I can upgrade, it's easier to upgrade the GPU, whatever. But at the same time, I just like the smallness and portability of my laptop. And like I said, I like playing some games, but I'm not a heavy gamer.
Right. I play Factorio. This plays Factorio on Linux or whatever.
So I've been
I
playing
just gotta put it back together.
Honestly, I'm into Lego Fortnite. That's my jam.
Lego Fortnite is your jam? That's good.
Yep. If anybody is into all 7 of you out there, if any of you are into Lego Fortnite, you're looking for someone in a world, and I've had my world since it first came out. I got all my stuff. Not that I have time to play, but
The
okay.
light's all turned
Anyway,
off now. It's all back together. It's still on. I never turned it off. Just
that's the best.
reassembling
You're
it.
like, here, I'm going to take it apart. No, it's still on.
It's you can say it's battle tested.
If suddenly everything cuts out, we know you hit the wrong thing on the laptop.
I have a desktop that I'm running on. That I do
okay. I run everything on my
work
laptop.
on. The laptop is what I do when I want to go places.
Well, we know I'm the one that's most likely to hit stop on the recording anyway.
You just don't press any buttons. That's the trick. Well, thanks
for
letting me extend this thing an extra 20 minutes.
No, it's great. And okay. Anyway, on that note, next episode, we may talk about ServiceNow Zurich, or we may get into workflow versus flow designer.
Or we may talk about hardware.
Or we may talk about hardware. You don't know. We don't know. That's the beauty of Star 42. That's why it's called Star 42.
Because we don't know what we're doing. It's great.
We don't know what we're doing. It's wonderful. So this is Michael.
This is Jace. See you next time.
And next time at Star 42, where no one knows. Queen of the Stone Age. Do. All right. Bye, everybody.